German Shepherd was found. Wedged between two walls, what this baby did, next it left everyone in tears. The story you're about to listen to will leave you speechless. What this little boy did when he found a trapped German Shepherd will break your heart and then put it back together again. Make sure to like, share, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. A faint whimper cut through the quiet afternoon air. 5-year-old Aiden paused mid-step, his small head tilting to one side. There it was again, a sound so heartbreaking it made his chest tighten. Something was crying. Aiden wasn't supposed to wander this far from home. His mom, Jamie, had strict rules about staying within sight of their modest blue house at the end of Oakwood Lane. But today, his toy rocket had soared over the fence, and one adventure had led to another. Now he stood before an old abandoned house with peeling yellow paint and broken windows that stared like sad eyes. The crying grew louder. It wasn't human. It was an animal, and it sounded desperate. "Hello?" Aiden called out, his voice small against the looming structure. No human answered, but the crying intensified. Aiden crept closer to the side of the house, where two concrete walls formed a narrow alley. The afternoon sun barely reached this shadowy space. He squinted, his eyes adjusting to the dimness. That's when he saw her. A German Shepherd, her brown and black fur matted with dirt, was wedged tightly between the walls. Her amber eyes, wide with fear and pain, locked onto Aiden's. She whimpered again, a sound that seemed to say, "Help me, please." Aiden's heart pounded against his ribs. "It's okay," he whispered, though his voice trembled. "I'm going to help you." The dog was stuck about halfway down the narrow passage. One wrong move, and the walls might squeeze her tighter. Aiden looked around frantically, searching for an adult who might help, but the street remained empty. It was just him and the trapped dog. "I'll be right back," he promised, then ran to the front yard where he'd spotted some broken wooden planks. He grabbed the thinnest one and hurried back. The dog watched his every move, her breathing labored. "I'm going to try something," Aiden explained, as if the dog could understand. "Don't be scared." With careful movements, he slid the plank alongside the dog's body. His small hands worked the wood between the animal and the concrete wall. The dog whimpered but didn't growl or snap. Somehow, she seemed to know he was trying to help. Sweat beaded on Aiden's forehead as he pushed and wiggled the plank. His arms ached, but he refused to give up. "Almost there," he encouraged, more to himself than to the dog. Then, with a sudden shift, the plank created just enough space. The German Shepherd pushed forward with renewed strength, her front paws scrabbling for purchase. Aiden dropped the plank and moved to the end of the passage, calling softly, "Come on, girl! You can do it!" With one final effort, the dog pulled herself free, tumbling forward onto the grass. She lay there, sides heaving, too exhausted to move further. Aiden approached slowly, hands outstretched. "You're safe now," he whispered. The dog raised her head weakly. Instead of fear or aggression, her eyes held something that made Aiden's breath catch. Gratitude. She inched forward on her belly and gently licked his hand. Aiden lowered himself to sit cross-legged beside her. The dog's fur was filthy, and now that she was free, he could see how thin she was beneath all that matted coat. There were scrapes along her sides from the concrete walls, and her right front paw looked swollen. "You need water," Aiden said, suddenly practical. He remembered the half-empty water bottle in his backpack. Cupping his hands, he poured a little water into them. The dog lapped eagerly, her rough tongue tickling his palms. As she drank, Aiden noticed something around her neck. A collar, mostly hidden by her thick fur. Gently, he pushed the fur aside to reveal a worn leather collar with a metal tag. The tag had writing on it, but parts had been scratched away, making it impossible to read more than a few letters. S.A., and then what looked like no. "Is your name Sano?" Aiden tried. The dog's ears perked up slightly, but she seemed more interested in the water than her name. After finishing the water, the dog tried to stand. She managed to get to her feet, but favored her right front paw heavily. Despite her obvious pain, she stayed close to Aiden, leaning against his small frame as if she trusted him completely. "You need a doctor," Aiden decided. "But first, we need to get you home." Home. The word made Aiden glance anxiously at the sky. The afternoon shadows were growing longer. Jamie would be checking on him soon, and he was far beyond the boundaries he was allowed to explore, but he couldn't leave the dog. She needed him. "Can you walk?" he asked. The German Shepherd took a few tentative steps, limping badly but moving forward with determination. "That's it. Good girl," Aiden encouraged. "My house isn't too far." Together, they began the slow journey back, the small boy and the injured dog making their way down the quiet suburban street. Every few steps, Aiden would stop and wait patiently while the dog rested. He kept one hand gently on her back, offering silent comfort. As they approached Aiden's house, he felt a jolt of worry. What would his mom say? Jamie worked long hours as a nurse at the hospital to support them since his dad had left 2 years ago. She was kind, but always stressed, always tired. A dog, especially an injured one, was definitely not part of their carefully budgeted life. The German Shepherd seemed to sense his hesitation. She stopped, looking up at him with those intelligent amber eyes that somehow seemed to understand everything. "Don't worry," Aiden whispered, making a sudden decision. "You can stay in my treehouse until you're better. Mom won't even know." The treehouse sat in the big oak tree in their backyard, a sanctuary Jamie had helped him build last summer. It wasn't much, just a platform with walls and a roof, but it was Aiden's special place. He kept snacks there, comic books, and a flashlight. It would be perfect for hiding a dog. They snuck through the side gate into the backyard. Jamie's car wasn't in the driveway yet. They had made it home before she returned from her shift. Relief washed over Aiden. Getting the dog up into the treehouse presented a new challenge. The German Shepherd could barely walk, let alone climb a ladder. Aiden chewed his lip, thinking hard. Then he remembered the old red wagon in the garage. "Wait here," he instructed the dog, who collapsed gratefully onto the grass. Aiden raced to the garage and rolled out the wagon, its wheels squeaking slightly. Back at the treehouse, he gathered all the blankets and pillows he could find on the platform and arranged them in the wagon. "This will be your bed for now," he told the dog, patting the nest of blankets. "But we need to get you up there." The German Shepherd eyed the wagon warily, but allowed Aiden to help her climb in. She was heavy, and it took all his strength to guide her, but somehow they managed. Once she was settled in the wagon, Aiden tied a rope to the handle. "I'm going to pull you up," he explained, showing her the pulley system his mom had installed for lifting supplies to the treehouse. "Don't be scared." The dog watched him with complete trust as he worked the rope through the pulley. It was hard work for his small arms, but inch by inch, the wagon rose off the ground. The German Shepherd remained perfectly still, as if understanding that any movement might unbalance her temporary elevator. When the wagon reached the platform, Aiden secured the rope and helped the dog climb out onto the treehouse floor. She immediately curled up on the blankets, exhausted from their journey. "You're safe now," Aiden promised, sitting beside her and gently stroking her matted fur. "I'll take care of you." The dog's tail thumped weakly against the wooden floor. Then, with a deep sigh, she rested her head on Aiden's lap and closed her eyes. As the German Shepherd drifted into sleep, Aiden examined her more closely. Despite her condition, there was something special about this dog. She wasn't just any stray. The worn collar, the mysterious tag, her unusual intelligence, all suggested a story. Who was she? Where had she come from? And why was she trapped between those walls? The sound of a car pulling into the driveway jolted Aiden from his thoughts. Mom was home. "I'll be back with food," he whispered to the sleeping dog. "Don't make any noise, okay?" As if in response, the German Shepherd opened one eye briefly, then closed it again, in what seemed like a promise. Aiden climbed down the ladder and ran to meet his mother as she wearily climbed out of her car. "Hey, sweetheart," Jamie said, smiling despite the exhaustion evident on her face. "Did you have a good day?" "The best day," Aiden answered truthfully, taking her hand. His other hand was sticky with dirt and dog saliva, but he kept it hidden in his pocket. "I found something really cool." "Oh? What did you find?" Jamie asked as they walked toward the house. Aiden hesitated. He couldn't tell her about the dog, not yet. "A rocket, a real one," he lied, thinking of his toy that had started today's adventure. "It shot way up into the sky." Jamie ruffled his hair affectionately. "That sounds amazing. Now, how about helping me with dinner?" During dinner, Aiden managed to sneak several pieces of chicken into his napkin when his mom wasn't looking. He also grabbed a bowl from the cabinet and filled it with water when Jamie stepped into the bathroom. Later, when Jamie was occupied with her medical journals in the living room, Aiden slipped out to the treehouse with his contraband. The German Shepherd was awake, her ears perking up at his approach. She devoured the chicken in seconds, her hunger evident in every eager bite. "I wish I had more," Aiden apologized, refilling the water bowl he'd brought earlier. "Tomorrow, I'll bring you breakfast." The dog licked his face, her rough tongue washing away the worry lines that had no business on a 5-year-old's forehead. Aiden laughed, his first real laugh since finding her, and wrapped his arms around her neck. "I'm going to call you Sasha," he decided, remembering the partial S.A. on her tag. "Do you like that name?" The newly named Sasha pressed her muzzle against his chest in what felt like approval. "I should clean your cuts," Aiden said, remembering how his mom always cleaned his scrapes. He had brought a washcloth soaked in warm water, and he gently began wiping the dirt from Sasha's fur. She winced when he touched certain spots, but didn't pull away. As he cleaned, Aiden discovered something troubling. There weren't just scrapes from the walls. Sasha had older injuries, a healing cut on her shoulder, a patch of fur missing from her flank. Someone had hurt her before she got trapped. A fierce protectiveness surged through Aiden. "Nobody's going to hurt you again," he promised, his childish voice suddenly solemn. "You're my dog now." Sasha's amber eyes held his gaze, and in that moment, a bond was sealed between them, the wounded dog and the boy, with too much empathy for his young years. As darkness fell, Aiden knew he had to go back inside before his mom became suspicious. "I'll be back first thing in the morning," he whispered to Sasha. "Sleep well." That night, lying in his bed, Aiden couldn't stop thinking about Sasha. How long had she been trapped? Who had hurt her? Who did she belong to before? The scratched-out tag bothered him most of all. It seemed deliberate, as if someone had tried to erase her identity. Through his bedroom window, he could just make out the dark shape of the treehouse. Was Sasha comfortable? Was she scared being alone? These worried thoughts chased each other around his mind, until finally, exhaustion pulled him into sleep. Aiden dreamed of running through fields with Sasha at his side, her fur clean and glossy, her movement free of pain. In his dream, she wasn't just healed, she was magnificent, powerful, her eyes shining with intelligence and loyalty. The dream was so vivid that when Aiden woke with the first light of dawn, it took him a moment to remember that the real Sasha was injured and hidden in his treehouse. He jumped out of bed, dressed hastily, and crept downstairs. Jamie was still asleep, her night shift at the hospital, meaning she often slept late into the morning. Aiden filled his pockets with dog-appropriate breakfast items, some leftover chicken from the refrigerator, a slice of cheese, and half an apple. He also grabbed the first aid kit from under the sink, remembering his mom using antiseptic wipes on his own cuts. Outside, the morning air was cool and fresh. Aiden climbed the ladder to the treehouse, expecting to find Sasha where he'd left her. But the nest of blankets was empty. Panic seized him. Had she somehow climbed down? Had someone taken her? A soft whine drew his attention to the corner of the treehouse. There was Sasha, pressed against the wall, her body tense and alert. She was staring out the treehouse window, a low growl building in her throat. Aiden rushed to her side. "What's wrong, girl?" Following her gaze, he looked down into the yard next door. A man stood there, seemingly examining the fence between the properties. He was tall with broad shoulders, dressed in dark clothes despite the warming day. Something about him made Aiden's skin prickle with unease. The man looked up suddenly, as if sensing he was being watched. Aiden ducked down, pulling Sasha away from the window. The dog trembled against him, her fear palpable. "Did he hurt you?" Aiden whispered, holding Sasha close. "Is he the one who hurt you?" Sasha's continued trembling seemed answer enough. Aiden peeked cautiously over the windowsill. The man was gone, but a cold feeling lingered in the pit of Aiden's stomach. Turning his attention back to Sasha, Aiden offered her the food he'd brought. She ate more slowly this morning, her appetite seemingly dampened by the man's presence. While she ate, Aiden carefully cleaned her wounds with antiseptic wipes from the first aid kit. Some of the cuts looked better already, but her paw was still swollen. "You need a real doctor," Aiden said, frustrated by the limits of his 5-year-old medical knowledge. "But I can't tell Mom about you yet." Aiden spent the morning with Sasha, reading to her from his favorite picture books and telling her all about his life, his school, his friends, his mom, the father who had left and rarely called. Sasha listened with seemingly rapt attention, her head tilted, her amber eyes focused on his face, as if she understood every word. By midday she seemed stronger. She even stood and walked a little around the treehouse, though she still limped heavily. Aiden's heart soared at this sign of improvement. "Soon you'll be all better," he told her optimistically. "And then maybe Mom will let me keep you for real." The sound of his name being called interrupted their quiet moment. Aiden peered out the window to see Jamie in the backyard, looking around for him. "I have to go," he whispered to Sasha. "Stay quiet, okay? I'll be back." He climbed down quickly and ran to his mother. "There you are," Jamie said, a note of concern in her voice. "I've been calling you for 10 minutes. Didn't you hear me?" "Sorry, Mom. I was playing in the treehouse," Aiden said, which wasn't exactly a lie. Jamie ruffled his hair affectionately. "Well, I need to run to the grocery store. Want to come along?" Aiden hesitated, glancing back at the treehouse. He didn't want to leave Sasha, but he also knew this might be his chance to get proper supplies for her. "Can I bring my allowance?" he asked. "There's something I want to buy." 20 minutes later, they were at the local supermarket. While Jamie shopped for their weekly groceries, Aiden led her to the pet aisle. "Why are we looking at dog food, sweetheart?" Jamie asked, puzzled. "We don't have a dog." Aiden had prepared for this question. "It's for a project at school," he explained. "We're learning about animals and what they eat. I got assigned dogs." Jamie seemed to accept this explanation, though she raised an eyebrow at the rather large bag of dog food Aiden selected. "That's a lot of dog food for a school project." "We're making posters with the actual food glued on," Aiden improvised. "And I want mine to be the best." In addition to the dog food, Aiden managed to add dog treats and a cheap nylon collar to the cart when his mom wasn't looking. He paid for these items with his own saved allowance, proud of his resourcefulness. On the drive home, Aiden clutched his purchases, his mind racing with plans for Sasha's care. He was so absorbed in his thoughts that he almost missed the black car parked across from their house. The same man from this morning sat inside, seemingly watching their home. A chill ran through Aiden. He slouched down in his seat, hoping the man wouldn't notice him. Who was he? And what did he want with Sasha? As Jamie pulled into their driveway, the black car started its engine and slowly drove away. "Mom," Aiden said hesitantly, "do you know that man? The one in the black car?" Jamie frowned, glancing in her rearview mirror at the retreating vehicle. "What man, honey?" "I didn't notice anyone." Aiden decided not to push the issue. Instead, he helped carry groceries inside, eager to return to Sasha with his new supplies. The moment Jamie was occupied with putting away groceries, Aiden slipped out to the treehouse with the dog food and treats hidden under his shirt. He climbed the ladder quickly, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and lingering fear from seeing the strange man again. "Sasha, I got you real dog food," he announced as he reached the platform. But Sasha wasn't alone in the treehouse. A small gasp escaped Aiden as he locked eyes with a stranger, a woman sitting cross-legged beside his dog, her hand gently stroking Sasha's fur. "Who are you?" Aiden demanded, his voice wavering between fear and indignation. "And why are you touching my dog?" The woman jumped slightly, though her hand never left Sasha's fur. She was young, maybe in her 20s, with short dark hair tucked under a worn baseball cap. Her face was kind but tired, with shadows under her eyes that reminded Aiden of his mom after a long hospital shift. "I'm sorry if I scared you," she said softly. "My name is Olivia." She glanced down at Sasha, who was lying comfortably beside her, head resting on her thigh. "And I think we might both care about this dog." Aiden stood frozen at the top of the ladder, unsure whether to climb fully into the treehouse or retreat and run for his mom. Sasha didn't seem afraid of this stranger. In fact, she looked more relaxed than Aiden had seen her since the rescue. "How did you find her?" he asked, still hesitant. Olivia smiled gently. "I've been looking for her for weeks now." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a photo, a cleaner, healthier-looking Sasha in what appeared to be military gear, standing proudly beside Olivia in a desert landscape. "Her name is Shadow." "Shadow?" Aiden tested the name, feeling a pang of disappointment at losing the name he'd chosen. "I've been calling her Sasha." "Sasha is a beautiful name too," Olivia said, seeming to understand his disappointment. "She responds to many names, actually. She's been trained that way." Curiosity overcame Aiden's caution. He climbed fully into the treehouse and sat down across from Olivia, placing his bag of dog food between them like a small barrier. Trained for what? Olivia's expression grew serious. She's a special dog, a military working dog. We served together in Afghanistan. Her voice softened. She saved my life more than once. Aiden's eyes widened. He looked at Sasha, no, Shadow, with newfound awe. Is that why her tag is scratched out? Because she's a secret agent dog? A smile flickered across Olivia's tired face. Not exactly a secret agent, but Special Forces, yes. Her full designation was SAF-NO-7843. I saw the SA and NO on her tag. Aiden exclaimed excitedly. I knew she was special. You're very observant, Olivia praised, and Aiden sat a little straighter. The tag was deliberately damaged by the man who took her. Aiden's excitement dimmed. The man in the black car? Olivia's gaze sharpened. You've seen him? Tall guy, broad shoulders, always wearing dark clothes? Aiden nodded, suddenly feeling cold despite the warm day. He was watching our house this morning, and when Mom and I came back from the store, he was in a black car across the street. Olivia's hand moved to rest protectively on Shadow's head. His name is Victor Reed. He's dangerous, Aiden. He stole Shadow because she knows something he doesn't want anyone else to know. What does she know? Aiden asked, his voice dropping to a whisper. She witnessed him doing something terrible, Olivia explained, careful with her words. Military dogs like Shadow are trained to record what they see. There's a special camera in her collar that was activated during a mission. Aiden leaned forward, forgetting his earlier caution. Like a spy camera? Cool. Very cool, Olivia agreed. Except that Victor realized she recorded him, and he's been trying to get the footage ever since. Shadow whined softly as if understanding they were talking about her. Olivia stroked her head gently. How did you find us? Aiden asked. I've been tracking Shadow since she disappeared from the military kennel, where she was staying after our deployment ended. I lost her trail for a while, but then I got word of a German shepherd spotted in this area. Olivia's eyes grew warm with gratitude. I never expected to find her being so well cared for by a brave young man. Aiden beamed at the compliment, but his smile quickly faded. She was stuck between two walls. I found her yesterday and helped her get out. Olivia nodded. Victor probably chased her there. She got away from him but got trapped trying to hide. She examined Shadow's paw gently. You've been taking good care of her injuries. I brought her food and water, Aiden said proudly, showing Olivia the bag of dog food. And I used Mom's first aid kit to clean her cuts. You did exactly the right things, Olivia assured him. You may have saved her life. The praise made Aiden glow with pride, but a troubling thought soon dimmed his happiness. Are you going to take her away now? Olivia's expression softened with understanding. Not right away. Shadow is still recovering, and it's not safe yet. Victor is clearly still looking for her. Hope flared in Aiden's chest. So, she can stay in my treehouse? For now, Olivia confirmed. But we have a problem. The camera in Shadow's collar contains evidence that Victor desperately wants to destroy. We need to get that footage to the right people. Aiden examined the collar again, noticing for the first time a small rectangular bump beneath the leather. Is that the camera? Olivia nodded. It's damaged, but the memory card should still be intact. I need to extract it without Victor knowing. I can help, Aiden offered eagerly. No one suspects kids. A troubled look crossed Olivia's face. It's too dangerous, Aiden. Victor is not a good person. He wouldn't hesitate to hurt even a child. But Shadow is my friend now, Aiden insisted, and friends help each other. Before Olivia could respond, they heard Jamie calling from below. Aiden, lunch is ready! Aiden's eyes widened in panic. That's my mom! You have to hide! Olivia was already moving, pressing herself against the wall where she wouldn't be visible from the ladder. Shadow remained still, sensing the tension. Coming, Mom, Aiden called down, then, quieter, to Olivia. I'll bring food for both of you after lunch. Aiden, Olivia whispered urgently, don't tell anyone about me or Shadow, not even your mom. It could put all of you in danger. The seriousness in her eyes made Aiden nod solemnly. I promise. He climbed down the ladder quickly, turning to wave at Shadow and Olivia once more, before running to the house. His mind was buzzing with everything he'd learned. Shadow wasn't just any dog. She was a hero, a military dog who had saved lives. and now she needed his help. Lunch with Jamie felt like it lasted forever. Aiden answered her questions about his morning distractedly, his thoughts constantly drifting to the treehouse and its secret occupants. "Are you feeling okay, sweetheart?" Jamie asked, noticing his unusual quietness. "You're not eating much." "I'm fine," Aiden assured her, forcing himself to take a bite of his sandwich. "Just thinking about my project." "The dog food project?" Jamie smiled. "You're really dedicated to that, aren't you?" Aiden nodded, grateful for the excuse she'd provided. "It's really interesting, learning about dogs." "Well, don't forget about your other homework," Jamie reminded him. "I need to head back to the hospital for the evening shift in an hour. Mrs. Patterson from next door will check on you at dinner time." This was normal for their household. As a single mother and nurse, Jamie often worked evening shifts, leaving Aiden with their elderly neighbor for a few hours. Usually, Aiden hated these evenings without his mom, but today, it would give him more freedom to help Shadow and Olivia. After lunch, Aiden gathered some food for his treehouse guests. Another sandwich, an apple, and a water bottle for Olivia, plus more dog food for Shadow. He stuffed everything into his backpack and headed out. "I'll be in my treehouse, Mom," he called as he raced outside. In the treehouse, Olivia gratefully accepted the food. She looked even more tired than before, and Aiden wondered if she had slept at all recently. "Thank you," she said, taking a hungry bite of the sandwich. "You're a lifesaver." While Olivia ate, Aiden sat beside Shadow, telling her all about his lunch with Mom and how he was going to help them both. Shadow watched him with those intelligent amber eyes, occasionally licking his hand as if in thanks. "Olivia," Aiden said suddenly, "how are we going to get the camera out of Shadow's collar? Do we need special tools?" Olivia finished her sandwich before answering. "I have some basic tools in my backpack. The real challenge will be accessing the memory card without damaging it further." "Can't we just take the collar off?" Aiden suggested. "The camera unit is built into the collar," Olivia explained, "and it's designed to be tamper-resistant. If we try to force it open, we might destroy the evidence." Aiden's forehead wrinkled in thought. "What about my mom's phone? It has a memory card. Maybe we could download the pictures from Shadow's camera to the phone." Olivia looked at him with newfound respect. "That's actually not a bad idea. If we can connect the camera's memory card to a phone or computer, we might be able to extract the data." Excitement bubbled up in Aiden's chest. "Mom has an old phone she doesn't use anymore. I could bring it here." "Perfect," Olivia agreed. "And I have a cable that might work to connect them." Their planning was interrupted by the sound of a car engine outside. Aiden peered through the treehouse window and felt his heart drop. The black car was back, parked across the street. Victor Reed sat inside, watching their house. "He's back," Aiden whispered fearfully. Olivia moved carefully to look out the window, keeping low. Her expression hardened at the sight of the car. "He's persistent. I'll give him that." "What does he want?" Aiden asked, though he feared he already knew the answer. "He wants Shadow," Olivia confirmed, "and he won't stop until he gets her, or confirms that the evidence is destroyed." Shadow growled softly, her eyes fixed on the distant figure in the car. Olivia placed a calming hand on her head. "We need to move faster than I thought," she said grimly. "He's getting bolder, watching the house so openly." "What if he tries to come inside?" Aiden asked, suddenly terrified for his mom. "He won't risk it while there are witnesses around," Olivia assured him. "But we can't stay here much longer. It's putting your family at risk." Aiden felt tears prick his eyes at the thought of losing Shadow so soon after finding her. But she's still hurt. She can't run away yet. Olivia seemed to battle with herself for a moment before making a decision. "I need to get that memory card tonight, and then we need to leave, for everyone's safety." "Tonight?" Aiden's voice cracked. "But I won't get to say goodbye properly." Olivia squeezed his shoulder gently. "I'm sorry, Aiden. I wish we had more time, but Victor's presence changes everything." Aiden wiped his eyes, trying to be brave. "What do you need me to do?" "First, we need that old phone," Olivia said. "Can you get it without your mom noticing?" Aiden nodded determinedly. "It's in her desk drawer. She never uses it anymore." "Good. And if you can find a small screwdriver, the kind used for eyeglasses, that would help too." "I know where Dad's old toolkit is," Aiden said, already planning his mission. "It has tiny screwdrivers." "Perfect," Olivia smiled, her eyes reflecting a mixture of sadness and pride. You're an exceptional young man, Aiden. Shadow is lucky you found her. Aiden returned to the house, his steps heavy with the weight of what was coming. He knew helping Shadow was the right thing to do, but the thought of saying goodbye crushed his heart. In just 2 days, he had come to love the brave German shepherd as if she'd always been his. Inside, Jamie was getting ready for her shift, putting on her nursing scrubs and gathering her things. "There you are," she said when Aiden entered. "I'm heading out in 10 minutes. Mrs. Patterson will bring you dinner at 6, okay?" "Okay, Mom," Aiden replied, trying to sound normal despite the storm of emotions inside him. While Jamie was in the bathroom, Aiden slipped into her bedroom and quietly opened the desk drawer where she kept her old phone. He found it buried under papers and quickly pocketed it, feeling guilty but reminding himself it was for a good cause. Next, he crept to the garage and located his father's dusty toolkit on a high shelf. Standing on a stool, he managed to retrieve the smallest screwdriver from the set without making too much noise. By the time Jamie emerged from the bathroom, Aiden was sitting innocently on the couch, his stolen treasures hidden in his pockets. "Be good for Mrs. Patterson," Jamie said, kissing his forehead. "I'll be home by midnight. Love you to the moon and back." "Love you more," Aiden replied, their usual goodbye. He hugged her extra tight, suddenly afraid. What if Victor tried to hurt his mom? What if helping Shadow and Olivia put his family in danger? Jamie noticed his unusual intensity. "Is everything okay, sweetheart?" Aiden almost told her everything then, about Shadow, about Olivia, about the scary man watching their house. But he remembered Olivia's warning and held back. "I just miss you when you work nights," he said instead, which was true enough. Jamie's eyes softened. "I know, baby, but we need the extra money from night shifts. Maybe someday soon I can switch to days only." After one more kiss, Jamie left for work. Aiden watched anxiously through the window as she walked to her car, relieved to see that the black vehicle was no longer across the street. Where had Victor gone? The thought made his skin prickle with fear. As soon as Jamie's car disappeared around the corner, Aiden raced back to the treehouse with his contraband. "I got everything," he announced triumphantly, pulling out the phone and screwdriver. Olivia took them gratefully. "This is perfect, Aiden. Thank you." She immediately set to work, using the screwdriver to carefully open a hidden panel on Shadow's collar. The German shepherd lay patiently, as if understanding the importance of what was happening. "The memory card is here," Olivia murmured, gently extracting a tiny black chip from inside the collar. "Now, we need to see if we can read it." The old phone still had some battery life. Olivia turned it on and inserted the memory card into its slot. For a tense minute, nothing happened. Then the screen lit up with a notification. "New media detected." "It worked!" Aiden exclaimed excitedly. Olivia navigated through the phone menu until she found a folder containing video files. She tapped on the most recent one, and the screen displayed a shaky image, footage from Shadow's perspective as she moved through what looked like a warehouse. "This is it," Olivia whispered, her voice tight with emotion. "This is what Victor doesn't want anyone to see." They watched in silence as the footage continued, showing Shadow following someone through the warehouse. Then the camera caught a clear image of Victor meeting with several men, exchanging briefcases. Even Aiden, young as he was, could tell they were doing something illegal. "What are they doing?" he asked in a hushed voice. "Selling military secrets," Olivia explained grimly. Victor was supposed to be protecting those documents, but he sold them instead. Shadow accidentally recorded the whole transaction. The video continued for several more minutes before cutting off abruptly, presumably when Victor had discovered Shadow watching and chased her. "We have what we need," Olivia said, relief evident in her voice. "This is enough evidence to put Victor away for a very long time." "So Shadow is safe now?" Aiden asked hopefully. Olivia's expression remained serious. "Not yet. We need to get this footage to my commanding officer. And until Victor is arrested, Shadow is still in danger." As if on cue, they heard the sound of a car door slamming shut. Aiden peered out the window and felt his blood freeze. Victor was walking up their driveway, looking more determined than ever. "He's here," Aiden gasped. "He's coming to our house." Olivia moved quickly, pocketing the phone with the memory card. "We need to leave now. Is there a back way out of your yard?" Aiden nodded, his heart pounding. "There's a gate to the alley behind our house." "Perfect," Olivia said, already helping Shadow to her feet. "We'll go that way." "But what about my mom?" Aiden asked, panicked. "What if he comes back when I'm not here?" "Once we get this evidence to the authorities, they'll arrest Victor immediately," Olivia assured him. "Your mom will be safer if you come with us now." "Trust me!" A loud knocking at the front door made them all freeze. Victor was at the house. "Hello?" They heard him call, his voice falsely pleasant. "Anyone home?" "Animal control, doing a routine check for strays in the area." Aiden looked at Olivia with terrified eyes. "He's pretending to be from animal control." "A common tactic," Olivia whispered. "Quick, grab anything important you want to bring. We're leaving now." Aiden snatched his backpack, shoving in a photo of him and his mom, his favorite stuffed animal, and the bag of dog treats for Shadow. He took one last look around his beloved treehouse, knowing he might not see it again for a while. The knocking at the front door grew more insistent. Then, alarmingly, they heard the sound of the doorknob being tried. "Let's go," Olivia urged, helping Shadow down the ladder. Despite her injuries, the German Shepherd moved with remarkable agility, sensing the danger. Once on the ground, they crept along the side of the house, staying low and out of sight. Aiden led the way to the back gate, which opened to a narrow alley running behind the row of houses. Just as they reached the gate, they heard a crash from the front of the house. Victor had broken in. "Run!" Olivia commanded, her voice leaving no room for argument. Together, the three of them slipped through the gate and into the alley. Olivia kept one hand on Shadow's back, supporting her as they moved as quickly as the injured dog could manage. Aiden's small legs pumped hard to keep up, fear giving him extra speed. "Where are we going?" he gasped as they turned onto a side street. "Somewhere safe," Olivia promised. "Somewhere Victor won't find us." Behind them, they heard an angry shout. Victor had discovered their escape. "Keep moving," Olivia urged, picking up their pace despite Shadow's limp. "Don't look back." But Aiden couldn't help it. He glanced over his shoulder and saw Victor standing at the end of the alley, his face contorted with rage. Their eyes met for a brief, terrifying moment before Olivia pulled Aiden around a corner, breaking the connection. "He saw me," Aiden whispered, terror making his voice shake. "It doesn't matter," Olivia assured him. "We have what he wants, and we're not giving it back. Now we just need to get to safety." They continued their escape through the neighborhood, sticking to back routes and avoiding main streets. Shadow kept pace admirably despite her injuries, her military training evident in her focused determination. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the suburban landscape, Aiden wondered if he would ever see his home again. Would his mom be worried when Mrs. Patterson reported him missing? Would Victor hurt Jamie when she returned from her shift? These frightening thoughts swirled in his mind as they ducked into a small park, momentarily pausing to catch their breath under the shelter of a large oak tree. "Olivia," Aiden said between gasps for air. "I'm scared for my mom." Olivia knelt in front of him, her eyes level with his. "I promise you, Aiden, we will make sure your mom is safe. The first thing we'll do when we reach our destination is call the authorities and have them check on her." "Where are we going?" Aiden asked again. "To a friend's house," Olivia explained. "Another military veteran who can help us contact the right people. He lives about a mile from here." A mile seemed impossibly far to Aiden's tired legs. But when he looked at Shadow, still standing despite her injuries and exhaustion, he found new determination. "I can make it," he declared bravely. Olivia smiled, a flash of pride in her eyes. "I know you can." She checked the old phone, which now contained the crucial evidence. "We have everything we need to stop Victor. We just need to reach my friend's house." As they prepared to continue their journey, Shadow suddenly raised her head, ears perked forward. A low growl rumbled in her chest. "What is it, girl?" Olivia whispered, instantly alert. Shadow's growl deepened, her gaze fixed on the street beyond the park. A moment later, they heard the sound of a car engine slowing nearby. "It's him," Aiden whispered, fear constricting his chest. "He found us." Olivia's mind worked quickly. "This way," she whispered, guiding them deeper into the park, away from the streetlights. The darkness would be their ally now. They crouched behind a cluster of bushes, trying to quiet their breathing. Shadow remained eerily still, her military training evident in her perfect silence despite her injuries. Aiden pressed himself against the dog's warm side, drawing comfort from her solid presence. Through gaps in the foliage, they watched Victor's black car crawl past the park entrance. The headlights swept across the playground equipment, casting long, distorted shadows. For a heart-stopping moment, the car paused. Aiden held his breath, his small hand buried in Shadow's fur. The German Shepherd's muscles tensed beneath his fingers, ready to protect him if necessary. After what felt like an eternity, the car continued down the street, its taillights eventually disappearing around a corner. "Is he gone?" Aiden whispered. "For now," Olivia replied, though she didn't sound convinced. "But we need to keep moving. He'll circle back." As they prepared to leave their hiding place, Shadow suddenly turned her head, ears pricked forward, listening intently. A low rumble formed in her throat, not quite a growl, but a warning. "What is it, girl?" Olivia murmured. Without warning, Shadow pulled away from them and limped purposefully toward a cluster of trees at the far end of the park. "Shadow, wait!" Aiden called in a stage whisper, scrambling after her. "Aiden, no! Stay here!" Olivia hissed, but the boy was already following the dog. Shadow moved with determination despite her injured paw, stopping occasionally to look back, as if ensuring Aiden was following. When she reached the trees, she disappeared into their shadows. Aiden hesitated at the edge of the darkness, suddenly afraid. "Shadow," he called softly. A wet nose pushed against his hand, making him jump. Shadow had circled back for him. She nudged his palm insistently, then turned again toward the trees. "She wants us to follow her," Aiden realized as Olivia caught up to them. "Are you sure?" Olivia asked, doubt evident in her voice. "She's trying to show us something," Aiden insisted. "She's really smart, right?" Olivia couldn't argue with that. "All right, but stay close to me." Together, they followed Shadow into the small wooded area. The trees weren't dense, just a decorative grove in the suburban park, but they provided better cover than the open playground. Shadow led them to the far side, where the park bordered a commercial area. A narrow passage between a laundromat and a closed coffee shop offered a discreet exit from the park. "She found us an escape route," Olivia said, impressed. "I told you she was trying to help," Aiden replied proudly, patting Shadow's head. With a quick glance to ensure no one was watching, they slipped between the buildings and emerged onto a quieter side street. Shadow continued to lead the way, her limp less pronounced now that urgency had taken over. "She's taking us somewhere," Olivia observed as the German Shepherd maintained her purposeful pace. Aiden nodded, watching Shadow with growing admiration. "She's protecting us." They followed the dog through a series of back streets, moving away from the residential area and toward a more mixed neighborhood of small businesses and apartment buildings. The evening had fully settled now, streetlights creating pools of yellow illumination in the growing darkness. Shadow finally stopped at a small veterinary clinic, its windows dark except for a nightlight inside. A sign on the door indicated it was closed until morning. Why did she bring us to a pet doctor? Aiden wondered aloud. Olivia examined the building thoughtfully. She might be remembering her training. Military dogs are taught to seek medical help if injured. "Can we go inside?" Aiden asked, eyeing Shadow's still swollen paw with concern. "It's closed," Olivia pointed out gently. "But maybe there's a back entrance we could try." They circled the small building, finding a rear door near a fenced area that likely served as an exercise yard for animal patients. Shadow approached the door and scratched at it lightly, then looked expectantly at Olivia. "I don't think we should break in." Olivia hesitated. Aiden was about to agree when the door suddenly opened, startling them all. A middle-aged man with kind eyes and graying hair peered out, wearing scrubs and looking surprised to find people at his back door. "Can I help you?" he asked cautiously. Dr. Thomas Miller, the veterinarian, introduced himself, then looked at Aiden. "And this young man?" "I found Shadow," Aiden said proudly. "She was stuck between two walls, and I got her out." Dr. Miller's eyebrows rose in surprise. "That was very brave of you." He returned his attention to Shadow, gently examining her swollen paw. "She needs treatment. Please, come inside." Before either human could respond, Shadow stepped forward into the light, her tail giving a single, hopeful wag. The veterinarian's eyes widened in recognition. "Shadow? Is that you, girl?" Olivia and Aiden exchanged shocked glances. "You know her?" Olivia asked. The man nodded, kneeling to examine Shadow, who allowed his touch without hesitation. "I was her veterinarian before she was deployed. I treated all the military working dogs from the nearby base." He looked up at them, his expression turning concerned. "Why is she injured? And who are you?" "I'm her handler," Olivia explained quickly. "Former handler, technically. I'm Olivia Chen, Special Forces." They followed the veterinarian into the clinic, relief washing over them at finding unexpected sanctuary. Dr. Miller led them to an examination room, flipping on just enough lights to work by, without making the clinic appear open from outside. "What happened to her?" he asked, as he carefully cleaned Shadow's wounds. Olivia gave him an abbreviated version of events: Shadow's disappearance from the military kennel, Victor's pursuit, and Aiden's rescue. She left out the details about the evidence in the collar, watching the veterinarian carefully to gauge his trustworthiness. "I've heard rumors about missing military dogs," Dr. Miller said grimly as he wrapped Shadow's paw. "3 have disappeared in the past month. Shadow makes 4. "All from the same kennel?" Olivia asked sharply. Dr. Miller nodded. "All waiting for reassignment after their handlers were either reassigned or discharged." Olivia's expression darkened. "This is bigger than we thought." While the adults talked, Aiden sat on the floor beside Shadow, whispering encouragement as Dr. Miller treated her. "You're so brave," he told her softly. "The bravest dog ever. You found us a safe place." Shadow's amber eyes remained fixed on him, and she inched her head forward to rest on his knee. The simple gesture of trust nearly brought tears to Aiden's eyes. Dr. Miller finished his examination and joined them on the floor, his knees cracking as he knelt. "She'll be okay," he assured Aiden. "The paw is sprained, not broken. She has some cuts and bruises, but nothing serious. She's healthy otherwise, just a bit underweight." "Can she stay here?" Olivia asked. "Just for tonight. We need somewhere safe until morning." Dr. Miller hesitated. "This man who's after her, how dangerous is he?" "Very," Olivia said simply. The veterinarian nodded slowly. "I have an apartment upstairs. You can stay there tonight." "Thank you," Olivia said, genuine relief in her voice. "We won't forget this." Dr. Miller led them through a back staircase to a small but tidy apartment above the clinic. "It's not much," he apologized, "but you'll be safe here." Aiden's eyes were growing heavy, the day's excitement and fear catching up with him. He curled up on the sofa with Shadow at his feet, the German shepherd refusing to be more than an arm's length away from him. "What about my mom?" Aiden remembered suddenly, fighting through his exhaustion. "She'll be so worried when she comes home, and I'm not there." Olivia sat beside him. "Dr. Miller is going to call the police for us. They'll make sure your mom is safe and let her know you're okay." "But won't Victor be watching our house?" Aiden asked fearfully. "The police will handle Victor," Olivia assured him, though her eyes met Dr. Miller's over Aiden's head, communicating the complexity of the situation. "Why don't you get some rest?" Dr. Miller suggested gently. "Olivia and I will take care of everything." Too tired to argue, Aiden nodded and lay down on the sofa. Shadow immediately adjusted her position, resting her head where she could watch over him as he slept. The last thing Aiden remembered before drifting off was the warm weight of Shadow against him, and the low murmur of adult voices discussing plans he was too young to understand. He woke to early morning light, filtering through unfamiliar curtains. For a moment, panic seized him. Where was he? Then he felt Shadow's reassuring presence still at his side, and memory returned. They were in Dr. Miller's apartment above the veterinary clinic, hiding from Victor. Aiden sat up, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Shadow greeted him with a soft whine and a gentle nudge of her nose against his hand. Her amber eyes were alert, and Aiden was pleased to notice she seemed stronger this morning, her paw less swollen after Dr. Miller's treatment. "Good morning, brave boy." Olivia's voice came from the small kitchen area, where she sat with Dr. Miller, both nursing cups of coffee. "Did you sleep well?" Aiden nodded, joining them at the table. "Did you call the police? Is my mom okay?" A shadow crossed Olivia's face. "We tried, Aiden, but we need to be careful about who we contact. Victor has connections, possibly even within local law enforcement." "Then how will we know if Mom is safe?" Aiden asked, fear creeping back into his voice. Dr. Miller pushed a plate of toast toward him. "Eat something first, then we'll figure this out together." While Aiden ate, Olivia explained their plan. "Dr. Miller has a friend who works at the military base, someone we know we can trust. He's going to come here this afternoon and take the evidence we have. Then he'll contact your mom through official channels and make sure she's protected. But that's hours away, Aiden protested. What if Victor already went back to our house? What if he heard her? Your mom was working a night shift, right? Olivia reminded him gently. She wouldn't have been home when Victor broke in. And he's after Shadow and the evidence, not your mother. This reasoning calmed Aiden somewhat, but worry for his mom still gnawed at him. Can't we call her, just to check? Olivia hesitated, then nodded. We can try from a different phone, not the one with the evidence, but we need to be careful what we say. Dr. Miller offered his clinic phone, and they dialed Jamie's cell number. It rang several times before going to voicemail. Aiden's heart sank. She might be sleeping after her night shift, Olivia suggested, seeing his distress. Let's try again in an hour. While they waited, Dr. Miller took Shadow downstairs to the clinic for a follow-up examination. To everyone's surprise, the German Shepherd was remarkably improved after just one night of proper care. Her military genetics and training had equipped her with extraordinary recovery abilities. She's quite remarkable, Dr. Miller commented, as Shadow demonstrated her improving mobility by walking a circuit around the examination room with minimal limping. Military dogs are bred and trained to be resilient, but she's exceptional even by those standards. Aiden beamed with pride. She's the best dog in the world. Olivia smiled at his enthusiasm, but kept glancing at her watch. Our contact should be here by 3. They returned upstairs to wait, the hours crawling by with agonizing slowness. Shadow seemed to sense the tension, staying close to Aiden and occasionally placing her head on his lap, as if to comfort him. At noon, they tried calling Jamie again. This time, to Aiden's immense relief, she answered. "Mom," he cried before Olivia could caution him about what to say. "Aiden?" Jamie's voice was thick with emotion. "Where are you? I've been going out of my mind. The police are here. Someone broke into our house last night, and Mrs. Patterson said you never showed up for dinner. Are you okay? Where are you?" The words tumbled out in a rush, and Aiden could tell she'd been crying. Before he could respond with equal emotional abandon, Olivia gently took the phone. "Jamie, my name is Olivia Chen. I'm with the military, and Aiden is safe with me. There's a situation that I can't explain over the phone, but I need you to trust me." There was a moment of stunned silence before Jamie's voice returned, steel in her tone now. "Put my son back on the phone right now, or I'm telling these officers you've kidnapped him." "Mom, it's okay," Aiden called loudly enough to be heard. "Shadow brought us to a safe place. Victor was trying to hurt her." "Who is Shadow? Who is Victor?" Jamie demanded. "Aiden, what's going on?" Olivia handed the phone back to Aiden, but mouthed, "Be careful," as she did. "Mom, I found a dog, a special military dog that got hurt. She was stuck between walls, and I helped her. But a bad man named Victor is looking for her because she saw him doing something illegal," Aiden explained in a rush. "Olivia is Shadow's real owner, and she's helping us." There was a long pause. When Jamie spoke again, her voice was calmer, but no less intense. "Where are you now? I'm coming to get you." Olivia shook her head urgently. "We're safe, Mom," Aiden said, instead of revealing their location. "Olivia has a friend coming to help us this afternoon. Then we can come home." "Aiden, listen to me," Jamie said, her nurse's training evident in her measured tone. "Are you really safe? Blink twice if you can't speak freely." Despite the seriousness of the situation, Aiden giggled. "Mom, you can't see me blink through the phone." The small joke seemed to reassure Jamie more than any promises could have. "Okay, sweetheart, but I need to know where you are. The police are here, and they can help." Olivia gestured for the phone again. "Jamie, this is Olivia. I understand your concern, but we have reason to believe that the man looking for your son and the dog has connections with local authorities. Our military contact will be here in a few hours and can escort Aiden home safely then." There was another long pause. "If my son isn't home by sunset, I'm calling the FBI," Jamie finally said. "That's fair," Olivia agreed. "May I speak with one of the officers there with you?" After a brief exchange establishing her military credentials, Olivia managed to convince the police to post an officer at Jamie's house for protection without revealing their location. When she hung up, she looked both relieved and troubled. "Your mom is one tough lady," she told Aiden with newfound respect. "She's a nurse," Aiden explained proudly. "She takes care of people in emergencies all the time." As afternoon arrived, tension mounted in the small apartment. Olivia checked and rechecked the phone containing the evidence. Dr. Miller prepared a bag of medical supplies for Shadow, insisting they take antibiotics and pain medication for her ongoing recovery. Aiden stayed close to Shadow, the two of them communicating in a wordless language of touches and glances that transcended the barriers between species. At precisely 3 o'clock, Dr. Miller's phone rang. He answered it, had a brief conversation, then hung up with a frown. "That was my contact," he reported. "He's been delayed at the base. Security protocols. He won't be able to make it until evening." Olivia's face tightened with worry. "We may not have that long. Victor is resourceful, and we left a trail getting here." "What do we do now?" Aiden asked, instinctively wrapping an arm around Shadow's neck. Before anyone could answer, Shadow suddenly stood at attention, her ears forward, her body rigid. A low growl rumbled from deep in her chest. "What is it, girl?" Olivia asked, instantly alert. Shadow moved to the window, keeping low, and peered through a gap in the curtains. Her growl intensified. Dr. Miller joined her, carefully looking out. His face paled. "There's a black car parked across the street. A man is sitting inside, watching the clinic." "Victor," Olivia confirmed grimly. "He's found us." "How?" Aiden whispered, fear squeezing his chest. "He might have tracked Shadow's microchip," Dr. Miller suggested. "All military dogs are chipped, and if he has access to the tracking system—" Olivia nodded, her expression hardening. "We need to move, now." "Where can we go?" Dr. Miller asked. "The only exits are the front door and the back door to the clinic." "Both of which he's likely watching," Olivia concluded. Aiden stood next to Shadow, his small hand buried in her fur. Then he noticed something about the German shepherd's posture. She wasn't just alerting them to danger, she was pointing, her head angled toward the window on the opposite side of the apartment. "Shadow's trying to tell us something," Aiden said, moving to the window she seemed focused on. Looking out, he saw that it opened onto a narrow ledge with a fire escape ladder just beyond reach. "Could we get to that ladder?" he asked, pointing it out to the adults. Olivia assessed the situation quickly. "Maybe, it's a stretch, but if we could get Shadow across first, she might be able to help pull us over." Dr. Miller looked doubtful. "With her injured paw?" "She's stronger than she looks," Aiden insisted, remembering how Shadow had led them to safety the night before. As they debated, the sound of the clinic's front door opening downstairs silenced them all. Heavy footsteps moved through the reception area below. "He's inside, Doctor," Miller whispered unnecessarily. Olivia made a quick decision. "The window, now." Dr. Miller moved first, carefully opening the window to avoid any noise. Cool afternoon air rushed in as he examined the ledge outside. "It's about 2 feet wide. We can make it to the ladder if we're careful." "Shadow goes first," Olivia directed, helping the German shepherd onto the windowsill. Shadow seemed to understand exactly what was needed. She stepped confidently onto the ledge despite her injury, balancing perfectly as she moved sideways toward the fire escape. When she reached the gap between the ledge and the ladder, she paused, gauging the distance. "She can't jump that with her paw," Dr. Miller warned. But Shadow had other ideas. Instead of jumping, she stretched her body to its full length, placing her front paws on the ladder while keeping her back paws on the ledge, creating a living bridge. "Incredible!" Olivia breathed. "She's making a way for us to cross." "I told you she was special," Aiden said proudly. The footsteps downstairs were getting closer, moving toward the staircase that led to the apartment. They had only moments before Victor would discover them. "Aiden, you're next," Olivia decided. "You're the lightest. Use Shadow as a support and get onto the ladder." Aiden hesitated, afraid of hurting Shadow, but the dog's steady gaze encouraged him. Taking a deep breath, he climbed onto the windowsill and carefully stepped onto the ledge. With one hand against the wall for balance, he sidled toward Shadow. When he reached her, he placed a small hand on her back for support and stretched toward the ladder. His fingers closed around a rung just as they heard the apartment door handle turning. With a final push, Aiden pulled himself onto the ladder, safely across the gap. Shadow immediately withdrew from her bridge position and, with remarkable agility despite her injury, made a controlled leap to join Aiden on the fire escape. Olivia motioned for Dr. Miller to go next. The veterinarian moved quickly despite his age, crossing the gap with Aiden and Shadow's encouragement from the other side. The apartment door began to open just as Olivia started her own crossing. She was halfway across the ledge when Victor burst into the apartment, his face contorted with rage when he saw his quarry escaping. "Stop right there!" he shouted, rushing toward the window. Olivia didn't hesitate. She launched herself toward the ladder, grabbing it just as Victor reached the window. His hand caught her ankle, trying to drag her back. What happened next would stay with Aiden forever. Shadow, seeing her handler in danger, launched herself from the fire escape back toward the window. With a powerful lunge that belied her injuries, she clamped her jaws around Victor's arm. The man screamed in pain and surprise, releasing Olivia's ankle. The momentum sent Shadow tumbling back, but Aiden and Dr. Miller managed to catch her before she could fall. Olivia scrambled fully onto the ladder, and together they began their descent to the alley below. Victor's furious shouts followed them, but by the time he could have climbed through the window, they were already running down the alley, Shadow leading the way, despite her renewed limp. "That was the bravest thing I've ever seen," Aiden told Shadow as they ran, his heart pounding with fear and admiration. "You saved Olivia!" The German Shepherd gave no response, except to maintain her protective position beside the boy, guiding their small group toward what she must have sensed was safety. Behind them, they heard the roar of a car engine. Victor wasn't giving up easily. "This way," Dr. Miller called, suddenly turning down a narrow passage between two buildings. "There's a shortcut through here that cars can't follow." They ducked into the alley, a tight corridor barely wide enough for two people to walk side by side. Behind them, they heard Victor's car screech to a halt, followed by the sound of a door slamming and footsteps in pursuit. "He's coming after us on foot," Olivia warned, pushing Aiden ahead of her. "Keep moving." The alley twisted and turned through the backs of several buildings, eventually opening onto a busier street lined with shops. Dr. Miller led them quickly across the road and into a small diner, bustling with late-afternoon customers. Through the kitchen, he told them quietly, nodding to the elderly woman behind the counter, who seemed to recognize him. "Angela, we need the back exit." The woman took one look at their frightened faces and Shadow's protective stance beside Aiden and simply nodded, lifting the counter flap to let them pass. "This way, Tom," she said, using Doctor. Miller's first name with familiar ease. They hurried through the busy kitchen, drawing curious stares from the cooks, but no challenges. Angela led them to a back door that opened onto yet another alley. "Where does this lead?" Olivia asked breathlessly. "Bus station, 2 blocks east," Angela replied. "Tom, are you in trouble?" Dr. Miller squeezed her hand gratefully. "Better you don't know, Angela. Thank you." As they prepared to leave, Angela pressed a paper bag into Aiden's hands. "Sandwiches," she explained with a wink. "Can't have a growing boy going hungry." "Thank you," Aiden whispered, touched by the kindness of this stranger. They slipped out the back door just as they heard the diner's front bell jingle violently. Victor had followed them inside. "Run!" Olivia urged, and they did, Shadow keeping perfect pace with Aiden despite her injury. The bus station was a hub of activity, people coming and going with luggage and shopping bags. They blended into the crowd, keeping their heads down while scanning for their next move. "We need to get that evidence to the authorities," Olivia said in a low voice. "And fast, before Victor catches up again." "My contact at the base," Dr. Miller suggested. "If we can get on a bus heading that direction." Shadow suddenly stiffened, her hackles rising. Without making a sound, she positioned herself between Aiden and the station entrance. "He's here," Olivia realized, catching a glimpse of Victor pushing through the main doors, his eyes scanning the crowd. "The bathroom," Dr. Miller suggested urgently. "Angela's brother works security here. I'll find him while you hide." Before they could argue, Dr. Miller melted into the crowd, moving with surprising speed for his age. Olivia quickly ushered Aiden and Shadow toward the family restroom, a single-occupancy space where all three could hide. Inside, Aiden sank to the floor, his small body trembling with fear and exhaustion. Shadow immediately pressed against him, her warm presence steadying him. Olivia knelt in front of them both, checking the old phone to ensure the evidence was still intact. "Are we going to be okay?" Aiden asked in a small voice. Olivia met his gaze directly, refusing to lie to him. "It's tough right now, but we have the evidence, we have friends helping us, and we have Shadow. That gives us a fighting chance." As if understanding her name had been invoked, Shadow licked Aiden's cheek, drawing a reluctant smile from the boy. "She always knows when I'm scared," he observed, wrapping his arms around the dog's neck. Olivia nodded. Military dogs are trained to sense emotions, especially fear and stress. It makes them better protectors. A soft knock on the door made them all freeze. "Olivia? It's Tom," Dr. Miller's voice came through quietly. Olivia cracked the door open, verifying it was indeed the veterinarian before letting him in. He wasn't alone. A uniformed security guard stood beside him. "This is Paul, Angela's brother," Dr. Miller explained. "He's going to help us get out through the employee exit." The security guard nodded grimly. "Tom told me enough. I saw that guy searching the terminal. He looks dangerous." "He is," Olivia confirmed. "Thank you for helping us." Paul led them through a series of back corridors used by station employees, eventually reaching a loading dock where deliveries were received. "There's a staff parking lot just beyond," he explained. "My car's there. I can drive you wherever you need to go." "We need to get to Fort Harrison," Dr. Miller said. "My military contact can help us there." Paul nodded. "That's about 20 minutes from here. I can take you." They were just stepping out onto the loading dock when a shout rang out. "Stop right there!" Victor stood at the other end of the dock, a gun now visible in his hand. The sight of the weapon sent ice through Aiden's veins. This wasn't just chase anymore. This was truly life or death. "Get behind me," Paul ordered, pushing Aiden and Shadow back toward the doorway. The security guard reached for his own weapon, but Victor was faster. "Don't even think about it," Victor snarled. "All I want is the dog and the phone. Give them to me, and no one gets hurt." "That's not going to happen," Olivia said calmly, though Aiden could see the tension in her body. She was positioned like Shadow now, ready to spring into action if necessary. Victor's face contorted with rage. "You have no idea what you're dealing with. This goes way beyond one man selling secrets. There's an entire network involved, and they will hunt you down if I don't return with that evidence." "So there are others," Olivia said, as if confirming a suspicion. "How many other military dogs have you stolen to cover your tracks?" Victor's eyes narrowed. "You're smarter than I gave you credit for, Sergeant Chen. Yes, others. And all of them with inconvenient evidence that needed to disappear." Aiden felt sick. Were there other dogs like Shadow out there, being hunted, maybe even killed to protect criminals? The thought made him hug Shadow tighter. The standoff stretched, tension building as each side calculated their next move. Then, in a moment of bizarre timing, the large delivery door at the far end of the dock began to open automatically. A truck had arrived with a shipment. The distraction was brief, but enough. Paul used the moment to draw his weapon, and Victor's attention split just long enough for Olivia to move. She launched herself forward, catching Victor's gun arm and forcing it upward. A shot rang out, hitting the ceiling harmlessly. "Run!" Olivia shouted to the others as she struggled with Victor. Dr. Miller grabbed Aiden's hand, pulling him toward Paul's car, while the security guard moved to help Olivia. Shadow hesitated, torn between protecting Aiden and helping Olivia. "Shadow, come!" Aiden called, and the dog reluctantly followed, her muscles tense with the desire to join the fight. They reached Paul's car just as another shot echoed across the loading dock. Aiden turned in horror to see Paul stumbling backward, clutching his shoulder. Olivia was still grappling with Victor, but the larger man was overpowering her. "Get in the car, Doctor," Miller ordered, opening the back door for Aiden and Shadow. "Lock the doors." The veterinarian then did something unexpected. He ran back toward the fight, grabbing a heavy loading hook hanging from a nearby pulley system. With strength belying his age, he swung the hook at Victor, catching him in the back and forcing him away from Olivia. Aiden watched in terrified fascination as the three adults fought, Olivia with military precision, Paul despite his injured shoulder, and Dr. Miller with desperate determination. Victor was outnumbered but dangerously skilled, keeping them at bay while trying to move toward the car where Aiden and Shadow waited. Shadow whined anxiously, pawing at the door. She wanted to help. "No, girl," Aiden whispered, holding her collar. "Stay with me." The fighting moved closer to the car. Through the window, Aiden could see that Olivia was bleeding from a cut above her eye, and Dr. Miller was clearly winded. They couldn't hold Victor off much longer. A sudden inspiration struck Aiden. The phone with the evidence. If he could somehow send the video to someone else, it wouldn't matter if Victor caught them. The evidence would already be out. With shaking hands, he pulled the old phone from his pocket where Olivia had entrusted it to him during their hiding in the bathroom. The battery was low, but there was enough power left. The question was, who could he send it to? He didn't know the number for the military or the FBI. Then he remembered his mom had once shown him an emergency contact in her phone. His Uncle Ray, Jamie's brother, was a police detective in a neighboring city. Aiden had memorized the number during a safety lesson Jamie had given him. Working quickly, Aiden figured out how to send a text message from the old phone. He attached the video file and typed a simple message. "This is Aiden. Bad man after USB-C of this video. Military dog Shadow recorded this. Please help. We are at bus station." He hit send just as the car door was wrenched open. Victor stood there, blood trickling from a cut on his face, his eyes wild with rage. "Give me the phone, kid," he demanded, reaching for Aiden. Shadow exploded into action, lunging forward with a ferocity that belied her injuries. Her teeth clamped onto Victor's arm, and he screamed in pain, staggering backward. Olivia appeared behind Victor, grabbing him in a chokehold. "You okay, Aiden?" she managed to ask between gritted teeth. "I sent the video," Aiden cried triumphantly. "To my Uncle Ray. He's a detective." Victor's face contorted with fury at this news. With desperate strength, he threw himself backward, crashing Olivia into a stack of pallets. The impact forced her to release her hold, and Victor immediately lunged for the car again. This time, he grabbed Aiden's ankle, trying to drag him out. Shadow attacked again, but Victor was ready, kicking the dog hard in her injured leg. Shadow yelped in pain, but didn't retreat, continuing to harry Victor, while Aiden scrambled deeper into the car. Dr. Miller joined the fray, grabbing Victor from behind. "Leave the boy alone!" Victor spun, delivering a violent punch that sent the older man sprawling. Then he turned back to the car, his focus now entirely on getting the phone from Aiden. "It's too late," Aiden told him defiantly, clutching the phone. "I already sent the video. Everyone's going to know what you did." Something dangerous flashed in Victor's eyes, the look of a man with nothing left to lose. "Then, there's no reason to keep any of you alive, is there?" he said coldly, reaching into his jacket. Before he could draw his gun again, the sound of sirens pierced the air. Multiple police cars were pulling into the bus station, their lights flashing. Victor hesitated, clearly calculating his options. Olivia was struggling to her feet, Doctor. Miller was dazed but conscious, and Shadow stood protectively in front of Aiden, her teeth bared despite her re-injured paw. "This isn't over," Victor threatened, backing away. "My people will find you." With that ominous promise, he turned and ran, disappearing through a maintenance door before anyone could stop him. Moments later, the loading dock was swarming with police officers. One of them, a tall man with kind eyes that reminded Aiden of his mom, approached the car where Aiden still sat with Shadow. "Aiden," the officer asked gently, "your mom sent us. I'm Officer Bennett. You're safe now." Relief washed over Aiden in a wave so powerful he felt lightheaded. He hugged Shadow tightly, burying his face in her fur to hide the tears that suddenly sprang to his eyes. "We did it, Shadow," he whispered. "We got away." Shadow licked his face, her amber eyes seeming to say, "Of course we did. I would never let anything happen to you." The next few hours passed in a blur of police statements, medical attention for Paul's gunshot wound and the other's various injuries, and tearful reunions. Jamie arrived at the police station where they'd been taken, rushing to enfold Aiden in a desperate hug. "Don't you ever scare me like that again," she sobbed, holding him as if she'd never let go. "Mom, this is Shadow," Aiden said, once Jamie's grip loosened enough for him to breathe. "She protected me. She's a hero." Jamie looked at the German shepherd with new eyes, taking in the military bearing, the intelligent gaze, and the protective posture she maintained even now at Aiden's side. "Thank you," she whispered to the dog, reaching out a tentative hand which Shadow allowed to touch her head. It was a small gesture, but significant, an acknowledgement of the bond that had formed between the dog and her son. Olivia joined them, her cut bandage and her uniform disheveled, but her expression relieved. "The video has been secured," she told them. "My commanding officer is on his way with a full military escort. Victor may have escaped for now, but with that evidence, his entire network will be exposed." "What about the other dogs?" Aiden asked, remembering Victor's chilling admission. "The ones like Shadow." A shadow crossed Olivia's face. "We'll find them," she promised. "Now that we know what to look for, we'll track down every missing military dog and bring them home." As the adults continued to discuss the situation, Aiden sat quietly with Shadow, processing everything that had happened.